Hi, I'm Meredith Kostek, and I'm a research and instruction librarian at Lewis and Clark Law School at the Boley Law Library. Today I'll be talking about teaching using embedded forms. Here's the problem. I was teaching a workshop that was going to be both live and taped. I needed attendance for some of the students in the workshop, but not all of the students. Plus, I needed proof of watching the asynchronous video after it was over. My solution? Embedding LibWizard forms into my presentation. What is this? It's an embedded form that goes into your slide presentation. This gives you the ability to ask multifaceted questions. You can also use a QR code or URL so students can quickly jump to the pre-planned questions. You also receive feedback from those students and receive the names of those students so that you can easily tell who has filled out the form. Why would you use this? Well, you sometimes need individual feedback. Sometimes you need taped session feedback, and it allows the students to self-select on whether or not they need to give you this type of feedback. And the nice part about using LibWizard or Google Forms is that we'll gather all of the answers in a reviewable format or report. How do we do this? I'll show you today how to create a form using SpringShare's LibWizard. You can also use this idea with Google's Forms. You can copy a URL. I'll show you how to copy a URL or create a QR code for easy access. And I'll show you how to generate a report. First, let's create a form. Step 1, starting your form. I'm using SpringShare's LibWizard, but if you don't have access to that, Google Forms has many of the capabilities of LibWizard forms. I'm going to go ahead and create a new form, name it, and give it a description. You can also give it a friendly URL, especially if students will be using the URL and not a QR code to access the form. Step 2, creating the form. Select fields. There are 4 categories of information you can put on the form: basic, utility, multiple choice, and submitter. We'll start with basic. These are text input fields. For general questions, I typically use the text area input. You select it and drag it to your field option over here. I give it a short name and then enter my question text. You'll notice that the maximum length input is set at 4096 if you do nothing. You can also make that smaller. You can also make it required and then save. One line text input is for short answers. Numeric input is for numerical answers, and date and time will give you a calendar date for answers. The next section, multiple choice. You can choose from drop-down, radios, checkboxes, or ratings. If you are familiar with LibWizard quizzes, this format will be familiar. I like to use these to ask quiz-like questions or often use a checkbox for multiple selections. Remember, you will receive all this information in a report, so this might also be a good alternative to Zoom polling if you want to see how your individual students are answering questions. I'm going to select a checkbox and give it the short name multiple choice. You can add a row if you need more space. You can also add an other as a choice. Also notice the rating system. This is a great way to initiate course feedback and can be coupled with text area input for additional feedback. Select whether you want stars or a scale slider, and you can put the number of stars that you'd like. The next section is Submitter. This contains fields for names, email, and phone number. I have saved these questions to my question bank, so they always have the same format. You can go to Bank. You can search for the questions. I only have 2, so I can just add them like this. There's also the ability to reuse a question from other forms down here. And you can look through your forms and then read your questions that you'd like to add. This is especially helpful if you're reusing the same ideas for multiple forms. Now, before I go to the utility section, I like to preview my form. That way I'll know what types of spacing I might want. Be sure to check your form's different views, tablet view and mobile view, since your students may be viewing this on a tablet or phone, especially if you're using a QR code. Finally, the utility fields. These allow you to space out your questions or add a separation line. You can have students attach files, pictures, or videos with the file upload, or you can add your own text block or picture, especially at the top if you have a look and feel you're going for. At this point, I like to add a welcome screen with greetings and instructions, but I usually do this last so that I can preview without having to preview the welcome screen over and over again. You can also add a thank you screen for after they've completed the form. You can also change the title of your Begin button. Now I can preview the whole thing. Looks great. Step 3, Form Options. There are many form options here, including password protection, look and feel, and privacy scrubbing. But submission behavior is where I want to concentrate. Under email notification, you can input your email and you will be notified when the form is filled out. And you can include the user's metadata too. I find this helpful when the form is presented in an asynchronous method, so I'm aware of each submission. And those are the basics to form creation on LibWizard. Let's create a QR code. When you're ready to create your QR code, you'll need to go to the share/URL. Here you'll have the direct URL, and this is something you could also share if you're going to share a URL instead of a QR code in your class. Go ahead and copy it and go to any QR code generator. I happen to like this one, but there are many free ones with a static URL, and that's what you have. So go ahead and enter. It will think and create your QR code. Then you'll download it and be able to use it in any presentation. Let's look at the generated report. LibWizard report. LibWizard creates a report of all submitted answers. I can download this report or read it online. I can also select specific questions to focus on by going to Displayed Columns and deselecting the different columns. Now I have the main question, who it was, and their email address. One of the main advantages of using a form like this or Google Forms is the ability to review and keep the answers you've received. As you can see at the top, here's the answer I just wrote for this form. I can also use this eye icon to preview just that answer. I'm sure you can think of many ways that you can use an embedded form in your everyday teaching. You can use it for quizzes, collaborative assignments, presentation feedback, attendance, short answer questions. There are so many ways to use this. If you're interested, here's the QR code we created during the video. You can select it using your phone, or you can use the URL at the bottom. This will take you to the form that we created, and you can check out how we used all of the different things and what they look like on your screen. Questions? Feel free to email me at mkostek@lclark.edu. Thanks for attending.